Hey guys, what's up? It's Charlie here, and today we're going to be looking at 10 humans with real superpowers caught on tape. Superheroes are super popular. This is because everyone loves stories about people with an insane amount of power and strength. And one of the best things about them is that normally they have powers which are way beyond what most people think would be possible. But there are some people who actually have these crazy, near impossible superpowers. And these are the people that we're going to be looking at today. Subscribe and turn on notifications, and comment done when you've done this for a shout out at the end of our next video. Coming in at number 10, we have Wim Hof. This is one guy you'd want with you if you were traveling anywhere cold. He's had extreme conditioning to severe weather, meaning he can survive in really cold temperatures. He's even learned several breathing techniques, allowing him to further his resistance to the cold. Wim uses his powers to do crazy things in extremely cold temperatures. Most of you wouldn't dare even going near Mount Everest without a large parka and some thick trousers. But Wim climbed Everest in just shorts and shoes. He's also accomplished many other amazing things in the freezing cold. This includes marathons in the snow and staying in a tube of ice water for hours. And this is all without even feeling how any normal person would feel when exposed to such severe temperatures. The things Wim has done is the kind of thing you couldn't even imagine being possible. But you have to remember that Wim, known as Iceman, has had years of training, and it really isn't recommended, as you can be badly affected by cold weather in many ways. So this is definitely something you should leave to the professionals. Next up is Daniel Smith. Daniel Smith is known to many as Rubber Boy. This is because of his amazing flexibility and contortionist act performed all around the world. This ability was partly due to a naturally born skill, but it was also due to expanding his abilities through lots of intense training. And he can do many inhuman abilities. These include things such as twisting his body more than what is technically possible. He's also able to fit into and out of seemingly impossible places. This includes things such as suitcases and very small boxes. And he can even work his way back out of these objects again. This has led to him becoming very popular all around the world, leading him to do this as a full-time job, doing shows all around the world. This makes it super easy to see why he must be some kind of superhero. Anyone who is super popular because of their superhuman talent must be pretty good at it, and deserves a spot on this list, especially when it's doing something as crazy as being able to fit into a tiny little box. Next up is Dean Karnazes. A lot of people may have already heard of Dean Karnazes. This is because he's a successful author and is very well documented for his superpower. So, what kind of ability could bring him so much attention? That would be that he has superhero levels of stamina. This was proven when he ran on a treadmill for 80 hours straight. This means he can run for 3 days and nights without even beginning to get tired. That's right, a whole 3 days. I couldn't even go 3 days without sleeping, but this guy can run the whole time. This is all thanks to his unnatural amount of energy reserves. He has achieved some of the most impressive feats ever seen by mankind. One of these feats of incredible resistance is being able to run 50 marathons in 50 states in only 50 days. Of course, this isn't without any support, as he needs huge amounts of energy to keep going, but I'm sure if he was given enough food and water, he could probably run forever. Next up is Hamachi. Now this is one scary guy. Izuho is a living samurai and possibly the greatest swordsman in the world, and his sword speed is one of the fastest in the world. And he's won several world records for his amazing sword skills, such as most katana cuts to a mat, most katana cuts to a straw mat, and even most katana cuts to a tennis ball. And this was a tennis ball moving at 820 kilometers an hour. That's nearly 510 miles an hour. This would make you think he can do even crazier things like chopping bullets in half. Yeah, just imagine if he could actually do that. Well, I got a surprise for you, he actually can. How do I know this? Because he actually did this exact thing in 2011. One of the most crazy things about him is his ability to predict things. He can actually predict the trajectory of objects before they're even thrown, and his predictions are always insanely accurate, normally being within millimeters of an object's actual trajectory. He's also a great athlete due to his amazing predictability and incredible speeds, and he's now decided to teach his skills to students at a martial arts school. Imagine having this guy as your teacher. Next up is Tai Nog. This guy has even got an origin story, just like a real superhero. After recovering from a terrible fever in 1973, Ty was changed in a very bizarre way. This was because he no longer felt tiredness or even a need to sleep. This was over 43 years ago, and according to many sources, he hasn't slept once during that entire time. That's right, he's gone 43 years without sleeping once. It sounds pretty impossible, but it's definitely true, and many reputable sources have reported it. Surely this must have had some kind of bad impact on him mentally and physically, but surprisingly, it's had no real effect on him mentally or physically, and he seems as healthy as he was before this shocking series of events began. The good thing about this is he has a lot of spare time during the night. This has led to him taking up many night jobs as well as day jobs. This has allowed him to earn a lot more money, causing him to live a way more comfortable life than he had before. Sometimes I wish I had that power. Making these videos takes a lot of time, you know. Next up is Lu-Tho Lin. If you've ever seen X-Men, then you're probably familiar with the character Magneto. He was the villain for many films and had a pretty useful power of controlling metal objects. And I'm sure at one point, most of you probably thought that is a pretty useful power, but also one that's totally impossible for us to have. Well, not for this guy. Okay, he might not be able to make metal objects become attracted to him from a distance, but he has no trouble actually sticking them to his body. This includes objects up to 4 to 4.5 pounds in weight. He can stick things like forks, spoons, clothing irons, and stuff like hammers and knives to his body. And oddly enough, this isn't because of some kind of weird magnetic ability. As he can't actually attract metal objects towards him, this means he has no magnetic field. His ability to stick metal to himself is actually a bit more complicated than that, and it's all to do with his body cells. He has a structure of cells with a much stronger friction. This means his cells are basically like suction cups, meaning that metal objects just stick to his body like magic. It's kind of like how you can probably balance the end of a spoon on your nose, but way more cool. Next up is Rusty Hate. At one point or another, you've probably been hurt pretty bad, and the chances are you want to stay away from that kind of thing ever happening again. But Rusty thinks almost the opposite. This is because, for a job, he tests cars for safety in the event of a collision. You might think they would use a crash test dummy so they don't have to end up in hospital. But Rusty sees a much more direct approach, becoming the actual collision test dummy himself. Rusty has been in around 500 plus collisions and has never been in an incident serious enough to send him to hospital. In fact, he's never been in a serious incident during his whole career as a collision tester. This just goes to show some people are built from stronger stuff than most of us. He actually enjoys his job and says the adrenaline rush during collisions makes him want to keep coming back. And given his record of never being injured, there's no reason why he can't. He's also famously said the only injury he's ever got is a small cut on his hand, and even that was just from a faulty airbag. Next up is Shakuntala Devi. I'm pretty sure this person is a super genius. She's widely regarded as one of the smartest people on Earth, but that's not the strange part about it. While most people work out a simple method to calculate difficult equations, she uses a different approach. She's actually done this since birth and has an entirely different way of understanding numbers to other people on Earth, and her mathematic excellence is best shown by her show in London in 1980. She was tasked with the complex equation of multiplying together two 13-digit numbers, and after only half a minute and no calculator, she answered correctly. This was a 26-digit number, which not even a calculator could fully answer, as it wouldn't fit on most screens. This is just one of the many situations where she's proved her superpower. I guess you could say she really summed up her abilities. Next up is Liam Hoekstra. When we were kids, most of us probably wanted to be Superman. It would be pretty amazing if you had one of his insane powers. And his most useful power has got to be super strength. It would also probably be the hardest to get, however. But for this guy, it's a power he already has. He's been called a young Superman by friends and family. This is because he had 40% body muscle and little to no body fat when he was first discovered. So why is he called young Superman? Well, this is because he has an insane body at just 3 years old. As he ages, he's achieving more and more incredible things effortlessly. And he is unsurprisingly way stronger than every other kid at his school. I guess that means there's no chance he's ever going to get picked on. Next up is Tim Cridland. Tim Cridland is better known as Zamora the King and is incredibly famous around the world. And it's not for the world's most awesome stage name. It's actually a case of him being able to feel no pain at all. He's a master of surviving some of the most brutal, torturous feats ever performed. This is because of the fact he can physically not feel pain. This is down to a genetic disorder which has led to him being able to do some gross stuff to his body without even noticing that it's been done. This means he can do things like electrocution, sword swallowing, and even body skewering. Most of you probably don't even know what body skewering is, but one thing's for sure, it doesn't sound like fun. There is a major downside to this, however. It could possibly be called his kryptonite. The downside is, because he can't feel any pain, his body can't warn him when he's overworking himself. This means without proper training and a lot of self-discipline, he could easily go way too far on a stunt and end up passing away. Fortunately, he studied his anatomy extensively, so he has a clear understanding of what too far really is. As he now knows his limits, he likely won't suffer bad effects from his disorder and can really harness his superpower. Vote on the poll in the top right corner and you can vote for the most amazing superhuman. I think it's Wim Hof because he climbed the world's tallest mountain in shorts. This video shoutout goes to K Cortez. Subscribe and turn on notifications and comment done for a shoutout in the next video. But as always, thanks for watching. Check out some more videos on screen right now. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s.